So hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rhianne van der Linde, and I'm a co-director and senior faculty at the Shakti Shiva Academy, which was founded by Shakti Malan. And for those of you who don't know Shakti Malan, she was a Dakini based in Cape Town, South Africa, and she was really a pioneer in the field of conscious sexuality. And I can say many things about Shakti, but one of the things that I'm really most grateful to Shakti for is that she always shared the teachers that were moving her, that were pivotal in her journey of awakening. And one of those teachers that she introduced me to is Breath Master Dan Brulé. And I have Dan Brulé on the line with me tonight, and we're going to have a conversation. Dan, hi. Thanks for being here.
Hey, hi everyone.
And there are also many things I could say about Dan. And what comes to me is that Dan is a devotee of the breath, and he's also a guru of the breath. He's both a student and a teacher. And those two make him a really, really beautiful teacher. And so I posed a question to Dan, and it goes like this. Danji, speak to us about the breath of the beloved.
Well, that brings me to my very first meeting with Shakti. The first day that I met her. What's the name of that place where we always stayed? She passed away, but her property was a place where we were doing gatherings and retreats. What was her name, Rhianne, in Joburg? Claudia. Claudia's place. Yeah, Claudia's place. So I was doing sessions there, and Shakti got wind of somebody coming through doing breathing, and she showed up for a session. And it was so very obvious to me just in the first few minutes watching her breathing with her, that this is someone who's done a lot of work on herself. And I found it impossible to be unconscious in her presence. And the way that the breath moved through her, and the way that she flowed with the breath, and the way that the breath flowed through her, that relationship, our relationship to the breath is an expression and a reflection of our relationship to our body, to life, to the world. And her breath was just so open and so soft and so flowing. And she was a very good example of embodied spirit, embodied breath, with this fierce courage, willing to go wherever the breath took her, willing to feel whatever life brought to her. I mean, that's a sacred relationship. And that sacred breath, that sacred relationship to the breath is what makes all of the difference. It makes a difference whether we heal or we grow or we wake up, we live fully. If you breathe fully and freely, you're living fully and freely. And if nothing can disturb your breath, nothing can disturb you. And things that would normally disturb people, and Shakti had a way of just welcoming them, embracing them, diving into them for the sheer ecstasy of the mystery of the love of just the power of life. And so I think that's the essence, that's the key to this relationship, is uncovering the sacred aspect in the breath, which Shakti was just a living example of that, and awakening that relationship in ourselves. So it's impossible to unlock the potential of the breath, to play with your breath without encountering whatever emotional blocks, psychological blocks, family programming, conditioning, fears. All of that stuff is encountered on the road of breath work. You cannot come into a conscious relationship with your breath without becoming conscious of everything else about you, your reactions, your fears, your motivations, your unconscious habits, your patterns, your beliefs. And so Shakti got that. And she didn't just understand it, but she got it on a cellular level. And so that's my, it all just, it was like an instant download when I met her. It was like just the totality of her presence and the totality of everything she had integrated was so easily expressed and reflected in her relationship to the breath. You saw her breathe and you felt her breathe and you got her essence, So she cracked the code. She cracked the code. And I'm so glad that you are continuing her work, because breathing wakes us up to who we really are, and it helps us navigate everything that's in the way of fully owning our power and our essence. And I think that's what Shakti's life was about. Just showing up totally, willing to look in every crack and crevice of our being, not with a feeling to fix anything, but with just this idea of just becoming more of who we are. And a big part of that is encountering taboos and encountering conditioning and programming around sexuality. And I got more very, she spoke in these really beautiful seed kind of thought ways where, you have to unpack a lot of stuff in life. And in order to unpack it, you got to sit with it. You got to come at it from this angle and come at it from that angle. You got to be open to really being with it. And her life was just a perfect example of that on every level. It's having tea with her was a tantric experience. was an encounter with essence. And so I'm really happy that you're keeping her work alive and even building on it, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. You always said, Dan, that the breath was the first beloved, is the first beloved, and that the breath is the most intimate touch of existence. And Shakti certainly lived that with every breath, as you do, and as I aspire to. And thank you for.
And breathing it's all about feeling, right? So breathing is one thing, but feeling what the breath activates and stirs and moves in us, that feeling part is, and just pure feeling, not judging, not trying to change the feeling, not suppressing it, but just this pure being with what is as it is, just opens so much in us. And then so the breath is this way that we can really enter into a sacred union with our essence. And Shakti just got that. And so I don't know how anyone can awaken without awakening to the breath itself. And so it's impossible to awaken to the breath without awakening to all of the aspects of ourselves. And so it's a beautiful dance. It's a beautiful, beautiful dance to be in. And I got so much from her. in so, in just moments where just who she was just permeated the room, and and catching that energy and then finding the connection to it in ourselves. She was very, very good at that. And I know she left you with that gift too, that I really feel that you know how to feel into things and connect, using the breath to connect to parts of ourselves that there's no other way to connect with except through the breath.
Yeah, by willing to feel it all, huh?
Yeah.
It's been beautiful to just sit here with you and listen and breathe and your pearls of wisdom.
If we put a certain quality into the breathing, that quality awakens certain aspects of our consciousness. And when we focus on certain things in our consciousness, and we bring that quality into the breathing, like something happens. I see the king and the queen of the spiritual kingdom is consciousness and breathing. That's consciousness and breath are the king and the queen of the spiritual kingdom. And when they're married, that's when the fullness of who we are is finally able to be revealed or expressed. And breath holding patterns, holding our breath, breathing shallowly, that's an unconscious way of trying to avoid and navigate things that we're afraid to touch. And so in the process of opening up our breath, we're just taken very naturally to each next step in our growth. It's quite beautiful and how organic it happens.
That's really beautiful, the king and the queen, and the masculine and the feminine, and which is what we'll be exploring on the Soulmate Within, which is our next offering at the Shakti Shiva Academy starting 1st February. This is a course that Shakti originally created to unpack these elements, to see where is the dance. Is there a dance? Is there even a conversation between consciousness and breath, between the masculine and the feminine in us, firstly, before developing that intimacy, firstly with ourselves as our own best beloved, before we can meet each other in that intimacy that I know that we all long for, men and women on this planet. We long for the same thing: intimate, loving relationships, connected relationships.
That essence of the breath is ultimately our beloved, right? I mean, that is the quintessential beloved, is the life force itself that is sustaining us and animating us and responsible for our healing and our recovery and our creativity. That merging, that discovering of that beloved within, I mean, I think that's what the breath offers us. And that's what's waiting for us. And once we meet that in ourselves, we become quite fearless and quite courageous, because we're connected, we're tuned in, so there's this expanding possibility. I start to shed limitations, and I start to dissolve blocks, and I start to move towards what my heart really wants, and my head isn't getting in the way anymore, and that voice in my head that my grandmother left or whatever isn't in the way anymore. And we're finally able to just be who we are fully and freely. And that's what the world needs: more and more people who are not afraid to be who they really are and to embrace it fully. And God, I don't know anybody better than Shakti, or any other than Shakti was better at that.
Yeah, totally. She was total in her exploration of the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I invite whoever's listening to absorb everything you can from Shakti's teachings, because she left behind a
Mm,
treasure, and
yeah.
it's going to help people forever. So if you're in that program, congratulations. And that inner beloved, that relationship, that's where everything starts. And things go really fast, really high once you make that connection. So, yeah, I wish everyone real blessings in this work that you're carrying on with her. Mm,
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
yeah.
So for you, the listener, if you are longing for deepening intimacy with yourself and with the important relationships in your life, then please be welcome to join us for the Soulmate Within starting 1 February. All the details are in the links below. And then I also suggest that you hop over to breathmastery.com and take a look at
Mm.
what Dan's up to.